Welcome to Chart Monkeys, man, the weekly CyberKong show. We're coming at you live right now over on YouTube, on X, on Twitch. It's good to see you guys. It's never a freaking dull moment here, including, well, especially this past week, because Deathstr's live pointed at maybe your favorite collection, maybe. We got a lot to talk about this week. Henry, it's good to see you, man.
Dude, it's always great to see you.
You've been everywhere this week. Everywhere. It's like every time I pull up X, I see you on somebody's spaces.
Yeah, I've been making the rounds on spaces, popping in. If somebody tags me, I usually try to hop in and say hello, talk a bit. Yeah, it's been an interesting, exhausting. Like the guys who are in spaces all the fucking time, you know, like people who are just in spaces, you see them all day long in spaces. I'm like, man, that's another grind. And maybe they're not doing as much behind the scenes as well. But yeah, shout out to anybody who is on spaces all fucking day.
That spaces grind is real. Some of those guys are really good at it too. Some of them are. But like that's a fucking grind to put on a show like that on space, especially because a lot of them go so long. By the way, Tickle, good comment there. Should I be watching on YouTube instead for numbers? Watch where you want, guys, for sure. But make sure you're following CyberKongs on X for sure. But I think we still call Twitch home base, right? If we got to pick home base, it's Twitch. I think it'd be cool to build an audience up over there. So Twitch.
Yeah. Twitch is a good place. Start with Twitch. And make sure you're following us at CyberKongs, at Chart Monkeys. That's on X and also YouTube and Twitch.
That's what's up. All right, dude. I was gonna kick it off with some market stuff because we do have some market stuff today, but I kind of want to get right into Deathstr and we can circle back to market. We got some jobs data in today, and so the market's reacting to that. But again, I think we can circle back to market stuff a little later on. I think the people want to hear Deathstr.
Yeah, you're on the there we go. Yeah. Well, before we talk Deathstr, did you watch the Super Bowl?
Half of it, dude. I fell asleep for half. The second, the entire. I watched the first half. I watched the halftime show. I don't even know where I fell asleep. I think before they even kicked off second half. It was awful, dude.
Yeah, I tuned out in the fourth quarter. It was just a little bit of a dud to me.
Was it like the worst you can remember? Past like couple decades?
Yeah. It was a boring, and I like good defense, but it just was a bit boring. So just wanted to get the Super Bowl out of the way.
Yeah,
it's big deal.
We should chat when we get to bullish bearish. I don't know if we have a Super Bowl topic, but probably more to say on it. It was fucking awful. And I'm a Pats fan, man, right? Like we grew up in New Hampshire. Like I know you're Bills now. I'm a Pats fan still. Fucking miserable, boring ass Super Bowl. I never want to watch one again after that.
Yeah. Record numbers too. Last year might have beat it. The halftime show, I think, had record numbers. The game overall, I think last year's did better, but it's still like supposed to be entertaining no matter what. It just felt like a bit of a dud.
Yeah, dud. Not a dud is Deathstr. I'm sorry. Like, okay, we're gonna have a lot of feels about this. I know there's a lot of takes on both sides, and I like all the takes, but no matter what, everybody was talking about it all week long, even leading up to it, since you announced Deathstr, and people had to start trying to understand what it is, what it does so differently, and then see it live and start to watch how it's performing. Everybody had takes on it. Again, great takes, but take us through really just the start of it. Just give people a quick breakdown on like what Deathstr is, and then we'll quickly get to like the launch and how it went.
Yeah, so Deathstr is like an inverse strategy token. It exists to essentially buy the floor of a targeted NFT collection. In this case, it was Moonbirds, and relist it on our marketplace for 20% under the floor price. And then after that, it works like other strategy tokens, where once that NFT is purchased, the revenue from that sale is used to buy back Deathstr and burn Deathstr. Which I think, let me just check here. We were over 20% of the total supply burned, which is wild because we're literally, what is today, Wednesday? We're not even 48 hours in, and we've burned like 21.5% of the supply. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, burn, look at the burn. Because like burn can matter. I talked about this on a Spaces yesterday. Like at some point, burn can matter. But I think for the most part, I just look at it as like, it's a whole lot of tokens that are just locked up, never to go back into the supply again. Obviously they're burned, but I think the old days of like the burn rate increasing token price, it's I don't want to say it's gimmicky, but you know what I mean? When you see like
tokenomics, like,
yeah,
it can help. Somebody had mentioned to me, they're like, I would rather see a project like buyback and support, or they didn't even say buyback, but they wanted to see a team do something with the tokens. I'm like, it is the same as staking them forever, just locking them up for it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So
it's like you're taking them out of circulation versus redistributing to people who could then, dump it back into the chart. So it's a great metric. It's kind of wild. I think GVC, I don't remember what their burn was at, but they've burned a lot of their supply in months. But I still think they've maybe only burned like 30% of their supply over the course of, I don't know, 4 months, give or take.
Yeah.
This at 21% in 48 hours is kind of wild. So, yeah, that's the way the strategy works is that it targets a collection, and that collection's ever changing. So you vote on what collection you want to have next. You vote by locking up your tokens and casting a vote. You have to have a minimum of 1,000 tokens to vote for a collection, but you can commit whatever your stack is. You can give as much or as little as you want to the vote, and then you can claim those tokens back at the end of the voting period.
Man, I like it, and it's a lot of fun. And maybe even before I get to like Quit's take, because I lean where he's at. But how about just how it went? Like, went live 2.5 days ago, I think. At this point, 2 days ago.
Not even in about 45 minutes, it'll be 48 hours.
I'm in such a time warp, dude. Like, we live there in crypto. You live in that weird, like, fucking time doesn't mean anything, but boy, like a lot happened in that time, and it came out like, dude, it was fun. It was so much fun, and it came out pretty fucking hot. But was it like on your end, like from the team perspective? We'll talk token price too, but like, what were you doing when it launched?
Like, you do all the preparation leading up to it, certainly on the marketing end. And then when it actually launches, that's like when the game starts, right? Like the game really starts at launch, of course. And so it's just like, it's neurotic. Like you're just like, it's like you're checking a million dials and gauges, and you're just trying to see, like, it's all an experiment. Like this entire thing. I've said it a few times now, and I think when people understand the purpose of it, then they start to understand a little bit more as far as like, why did we do it? It's performance art, man. It's provocative, right? I think somebody on a Spaces yesterday said like, it's aggressive. But in that moment of like launching, you're just looking at all of this shit, and because you don't really know leading up to it how it's, in theory how it will work, but you're not sure like what holes do you need to patch, etc. So I think, once we got into it a little bit, you start to notice like, okay, this isn't working. This part we need to tweak a little bit. And so it's been, I don't even want to call it a cat and mouse game, but there is a little bit of a cat and mouse game going on. Moonbird's had a lot of bids out there, and what we saw happen that we don't want to see happen is that the same Moonbird was getting washed over and over and over again. Buy from our floor, dump into bids, gets relisted at floor, gets bought again by the protocol. So the first patch that we did was to say, like, number one, you've got to stake, vote essentially 5 million of your tokens in order to be able to buy the NFT from the protocol. But the same token ID can only be purchased once in a season. Season lasts 72 hours, which we're going to be changing that. We're going to be shortening up the seasons. We've got, which we'll talk about here, shortly. Like, we've got some other things we're going to tweak, because this is just a constant evolution of a protocol. So we as a team have looked at it and we're like, okay, we want to tweak this. The 5 million tokens is too high. We're going to reduce that on the next season. And we've got some other things that we have to do, because it's just like, okay, now we got a snapshot of how this thing works. What does it do? And now our goal always needs to be, how do we make it more efficient? How do we make it more, I don't want to say user friendly, but how do we stop this from doing what it did with Moonbirds, which is where one bot essentially was able to just kind of wash trade the same thing over and over again, which still had an effect on the positive side to the chart, but it's not really as we intended it. It's like, okay, we're not just looking for like one bot to have a bite at the apple and then just take the same token and wash it over and over again. We want it to be a little bit more fun than that. So in the next updates that we do, which we'll talk about here, we're going to aim to kind of fix some of that.
What like, okay, you said a word. What the fuck was the word? Goal. You know, certain goals you had going into this. If you had one main goal for this, what is the goal?
Like, I think the first goal is just to kind of put something out there that's supposed to be fun, right? Like first goal is, let's have some fun. Let's fuck around with it. Let's have fun. Let's see what it can do. And let's just see if like if it gets a response from people, you know, which it did. You know, I mean, we got responses all across the spectrum. You know, some of it's FUD, some of it's, oh, we love it. Some of it's in between. They're not sure how to think. And like, as a small project, like, that's always your goal, is to be on the timeline, right? Have people talking about you. What do they say? Like, any press is good press.
Yeah.
So it's tough when you're not VC backed, when you're not, a community filled with KOLs, which is not who the Kongs are. You don't make it onto the timeline the same way that, let's say, a Pudgy Penguin post or Yuga Labs or something like that would. So, there's a marketing goal with any of it, just to bring attention to your ecosystem. And then you're just hoping to have some fun with it. And we saw in the lead up to it, like, there was a lot of fun being had in the Discord, people changing their names, people changing their PFPs. So it's been fun. Now that we're kind of past the launch phase, now it's like, okay, now we're in that next phase of, okay, now let's see if we can refine this more, bring more eyes into it. I think holder count has actually stayed relatively constant. I think on day one we were in the 200 250 holder range. Now we're in the 400. So, like, that's increasing. That's good. We've got a lot of wallets who bought at the beginning and had a lot of supply. We've had a lot of them exit, which is good. And so now we'll see, as we go towards the next target, now we see how that works when, right now Doodles is in the lead. So then we see how it works. And if you start getting more volume into the collection, because what feeds all of it, any strategy token, is volume on the token, because that's what bootstraps the flywheel.
So, like, and like in this case, maybe it's all the strategy tokens, by the way, but like the product here, it's the token, right? Everybody's so focused on the NFT side of this thing, and like, it's gamified and all, right? But your focus is what? On driving attention, volume, whatever, to the token?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the ecosystem is the token, right? And so, like, on our end, the goal is that you're just trying to drive attention into the token. But ultimately, dude, this is an experiment in Web3, and realistically, the people in Web3 are the ones who decide, like, the success or failure of it. It's not being manipulated one way or the other by the team. It's just, hey, we're going to keep kind of working and tinkering at this thing. But then ultimately the space decides, like, do we like this? I think if I was a holder looking at what happened with Moonbirds, I'd be like, okay, that's not exactly the way that I thought it would go down. Like, it's interesting, but not exactly how we thought it could work. I think that the next iteration of it will be much closer to, I don't even want to call it the final product, because the beauty of Deathstr is it can be relevant anytime. It doesn't have to just be relevant yesterday, the day before, today. It could be relevant 2 months from now. If a collection is targeted and, people want to see, some chaos ensue. So yeah, I think the aim with Deathstr specifically is just to drive attention to the token itself.
Yeah, I dig it, dude. What I didn't love, first off, I love this. I love Quit's take on it. What I didn't love is, again, I get people with like maybe like really passionate takes about Deathstr and what it does and how and all that stuff. I get it, but man, like, a lot of these people that maybe didn't love it are probably the same people that said, we're here for art, we're here for innovation, we're here to experiment, we're here to try things. And those same people, when somebody does it, don't like it. And I'm having trouble reconciling that, because, like, look, And I told you before the stream, I'm first off, I didn't tell you this part, but I'm proud of you for doing this because I know this is putting yourself out there and going against the grain in like this space. It is, and clearly people see that. But um, again, this is a performance art. This is provocative. This is poking at a system and seeing how people react to it, seeing how the system reacts to it, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. But like, what's so cool and why I'm most proud is because it is your form of art. Where you always would say you don't have no artistic bone in your body, right? And maybe you can't draw, and maybe you can't sing, and maybe you don't play instruments or whatever, right? And you can't use those to get any kind of like emotional reaction out of people. But you did with this.
Yeah.
Like this to me is the same as somebody with a painting that again is provocative. I think it's so fucking cool that you found your thing that like is your art. And I fucking love it. And I like that Quit sees that too, right? His take is more in that vein too, like a fan of on-chain experimentation. We were all supposed to be fans of that. I thought we were. When Nate Alex does Chain Faces or Chain Faces Arena, or when Modest Collection Death and Taxes, that'll like, right? You have to pay money, right? So you burn money in that game to stay in the game. When we do that with certain people, it's cool, right? This is that. It is the same thing. It is an experiment with a financialization of collectibles and just us gamifying our communities. It is that. And I don't know why sometimes people pick and choose where that's okay and when it's not. And I'm still trying to make that make sense, but I like that Quit sees it for what it is, an experiment. And we need that here, man. We don't get further with this shit unless we experiment. You should be begging your project founders to experiment. Maybe, they got their product, maybe they can't. They all can't, maybe. But man, I hope they have an avenue where they can.
Let's be real. Not everybody can pull this off. Not everybody's going to be willing to take this sort of, I don't even want to call it a villain arc. I mean, that's certainly how it's been put out there by some people, but not everybody.
I mean, when you got the Deathstr, like the Deathstr, and it's Vader memes and Emperor, like I get why people do that, yeah. And it is the community leaning into it. Like we're fucking Star Wars nerds too. Like it's fun, but it's not really to be the villain. Like Anakin's the hero of the fucking thing, by the way. So,
it's like, to your point, I don't think everybody's consistent on their views, the things that they're willing to take part of and the things they're not willing to take part of, and they're too good for this or the space is too good for this. When we see people launching rug after rug after rug and they still get supported, when we see people in the trenches get rugged on shit coins left, right, and center, if you had a Pudgy Penguin who's going the IP route or a Doodles going the IP route, doing something like this, it would make you scratch your head even more, right? You'd be like, whoa. This has nothing to do with what we're doing. But I feel like part of CyberKongs has always just been experimenting and just seeing like, what can you do? And I just think that this falls in our lane of stuff that you can try. And again, like I said it even before Deathstr launched, like if Deathstr could actually, crater a project's floor, well, what does that say about what all of this is anyway? And by the way, it has the potential to. Will communities step up and put up bid walls and protect their floors? Like this is all just kind of part of it. And, is her name Vi or V from World of Women? The CEO over there had there you go. She had put out this message. I don't know. It must've been like last night. And if you read the message, it basically just talks about how first off, respect, out of the box thinking, blah, 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 blah. And then it kind of goes into people are trying to build. I'm just going to read it. It says, I also see what's being tested here, liquidity under stress, whether a project dips and bounces back, but I don't think that's the right thing to be testing. The lens treats NFTs primarily as trading assets, not as digital art, culture, or long-term creative work, and the framing keeps us stuck in speculation rather than progress. And if the goal is to challenge the entire ecosystem, then go all the way. Selectively excluding punks doesn't feel fully consistent. If you're swinging, swing evenly. And then she says that she heard me speak on a space yesterday and sensed real frustration towards other leaders. I don't know what you've been through. I empathize, but I also believe Kongs was created to build, not destroy. And honestly, I respected the take. I responded to it. There was nothing, I didn't take offense to anything anybody has said in this entire process. I said it was a thoughtful response. There's a reason we didn't go after punks. Out of any project out there, out of any team, even though like Larva Labs is kind of out of the picture, right? Punks are just what they are. They're the foundation of what all of this is. And we just made a decision as a team that we would exclude them. So to say swing evenly, like, yeah, we are pretty much swinging evenly with the exception of punks. And I think anybody who kind of like looks at what the strategy is and knows that Punkster is really the foundation for all of this can make a really valid case to say like, okay, that's one that you could leave out there. Not only were they the kind of the starting point of NFTs, but they also with Punk strategy were the starting point of strategy tokens. So to me, it seems fair to leave them off. Yeah. But as far as like, you know, this doesn't, and I'm paraphrasing, like this doesn't, you know, this doesn't help the space or like, you know, this still kind of is more of the speculation minded people versus people who are trying to build real things. I don't believe it in the same way other people do. Okay. I just don't. And call that a flaw in me. I think what most people are building out there is hollow nonsense. And, you know, I've said it on the show and I've said it in Kong's. And I think, you know, when she said, like, I can empathize, I don't know what you've been through, you know, but like I sense frustration. Well, you'd be fucking frustrated too if you went through 27 months of dealing with the feds and came out of that and saw like in the end, if this was all about like support of everybody, we didn't get support. And this isn't rage quitting. We're not like, we didn't get support. Fuck all you guys. No, go ahead.
It broke the illusion. It broke the illusion that goal that everybody had is not real. I love that with Vi, whatever. Like, I love that idea. That idea is not what it really is. And to say like, this is more the destructive path, I might argue the other way, the pumpy, like hypey tweets, the InfoFi generated floor prices, that I think is way more disruptive. It's kept us from finding the real value of all these collections in the floors and finding the real collectors. It's people speculating on the prices. I think that's more destructive.
Yeah. I mean, you know better than anybody other than anybody else on the team that went through the SEC stuff. I mean, as my brother, you kind of know the hell that reigned on my life. And the thing was, again, and I tried to clarify this because on a Spaces I went on yesterday, I said, I have, and I'll be clear, I have nothing but respect for founders that are out there, whether it's a Luca, whether it's Gordon and Garga, any of these guys that are out there trying to lead their project and their community to whatever thing they're trying to accomplish. I can only imagine when you're going down that route where you're dealing with much larger Web2 companies and you're dealing with much more money in your treasury and you're trying to be cautious of how many. I mean, some of these places had hundreds of employees at one point, right? That is an immense grind. And I respect the fact that they're grinding. Now, granted, they all made a shit ton of money along the way too, but at least like they are trying to do something. But in the end, when I came out of the SEC stuff and when we came out of the SEC stuff, to your point, the illusion was gone, dude. I can't fake it. I can't pretend that the rising tide lifts all ships. Like that's something that you say if your tide actually lifted your ship. Like if you have not been through the fire in the way that we have, you may not see things for what they are. But I have seen so many artists. I've seen so many builders that have built great communities that don't get a single person giving a flying shit about it. This isn't, this space isn't about quality. It really isn't. This space is just about attention. And there is a absolute metric shit ton of manipulation that goes on, whether it's VCs, whether it's whale holders, whatever it is, there's just a lot. I mean, and if we're going even higher than that, look at October 10th and the manipulation you have there when you've got people like CZ or, maybe had nothing to do with it. But like I said, at least Deathstr is transparent. Whatever we're doing, it's right in front of your face to judge at face value. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it effective? Is it not effective? But that idea of the rising tide, I don't believe it. And going back to what I said before, I think like what a lot of people are working on is hollow. And I think they've raised a ton of money. I say they, right? Like I think there's just been a lot of money spent by venture capitalists in a space extractive of holders. Like you look at Izuki minting elementals at 2.5 ETH after they've already made a lot of money, right? You look at that and you just kind of like scratch your head a little bit, right? And you're just like, oh, that's. I mean, people paid it. GG's to them. But coming out of the SEC stuff, I was just like, all right, I see this for what I think it is, and I'm happy to be wrong. I'm wrong on a lot of shit, but I'm not going to pretend anymore. Instead, my job, as a leader in Kongs, as community manager, as somebody who participates in the space, my job is first and foremost to the community, to do things that not only keep us relevant, but that are fun, that keep us in the lane that's probably best for us. And so when I say I don't care what everybody else thinks, I care what Kongs think. Not every Kong likes this, but a lot of them do. And the majority of Kongs that I've talked to just think it's fun. And anybody who doesn't like it, like, cool. You don't need to participate in it. You can participate in whatever else you want. I've seen, people talking about Mega ETH and putting in God knows how much money into Mega ETH, only to have their money, which I don't even know if it was in the fine print, but only to have their money held up until they reach certain KPIs. And I'm like, man, I don't ever remember that being something on the front end that people knew about. If I'm wrong on that, if it was in the fine print of what you signed, okay, buyer beware. But it's like, I'm just over all the fuckery that everybody else does. And I'm willing for us to, we originally talked about doing this anonymously, but we weren't afraid when we talked about it and talked about how effective would this be if it was just, an X account named Deathstr, right? How effective would that be versus putting the CyberKongz brand behind it? And we knew that it was going to really put us out there. And we were okay with that. We've already been out there. When you've testified to the SEC, like getting a bunch of shit from, people behind a screen on a keyboard, it doesn't hit quite the same. In fact, and I know I'm going on a tangent, this is literally the first time we've done something. And I'm telling you, like, the death threats that we've had as a team, the things that we've had wished upon us and our families, there was a time that stuff bothered me. It did, because, like, honestly,
those stories are real. I've seen some of the death threats. I've seen that stuff is real, and I'm sure other founders teams experience that too. But that shit is real. It really, really happens, and it's scary shit.
Yeah, I mean, we I told the story on a Spaces yesterday of somebody that worked in Kongs that we had to put in a hotel for damn near a month and have security for them because, like, they were being legitimately threatened, and it was really scary for them. Ransom note sent to us telling us to pay X amount of ETH by this date, or it was going to go up to like 1,000 ETH 3 days later. And like, you get this stuff and you're like, what the fuck? This is JPEGs. But you go through all of that and you have all that done. And this is the first time where, like, it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't bother me. I'm barely even looking at it because I'm just like, no, our job is to keep pushing Kongs, keep pushing, innovation and see where we end up. And one last point I want to make, and obviously I'm sure we'll keep talking about Deathstr, is like Spencer, when we targeted Moonbird, Spencer said it in his tweet, like, this is a gladiator's arena. And the people that survive the carnage are the ones that will lead the next run. And dude, he's spot on with that. Like, I will give him a standing ovation for that.
I keep hearing smart guy. And that was the first time I didn't ever doubt he was. But when I saw that, I'm like, I like that. I think he's a smart guy.
It's okay to be edgy. It's okay to be edgy. This is not, let's all hold hands together as project founders and do what? Where are we going together? Like, seriously, this is no different than the Super Bowl, right? You've got 32 NFL teams that are all trying to win their divisions, make the playoffs, and ultimately have a shot at the Lombardi Trophy, right? Like, that's what happens every single year. And yes, the NFL may get together and bring teams in to do something, but these teams are not like, hey guys, let's all like hold hands together as we go play the game. And it's a ruthless space, and everybody is out there for themselves. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what it is.
To back to Vi's point again, it sounds great. It's not what it really is. And even this quote really stuck with me. We're stronger when we elevate each other, right? From her, not eliminate one another. It is the good old boys club. It's, if you're friends with the right people, you will get those that get that support, the partnership, if you've spent money on their collect, right? It's not as beautiful as this sounds. That is not how it works.
I used to say this myself. I'd speak at conferences and I would say, I would literally use that exact, line of a rising tide lifts all ships. Cause I actually thought it did. It took me a little bit to realize like, that's not exactly how it works. And do you remember when, these lawsuits against the class actions against Pump Fun were coming out and the accusations that were being made that certain people had access to nodes that let them get in and front run everybody else? I mean, this was just like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, this stuff is happening across the board often. And I'm not saying it's with NFT project founders. Like, I don't know what they're all doing, but this is part of the space, is this fuckery that happens behind the scenes where the people that are participating, usually the people like us, right? The participants of Web3 are usually the ones that are getting screwed. So Deathstr was just like another thing out there for people to play with, to see like, and again, it's transparent, to see like, okay, well, what's this space made of? What do people want to participate in?
So many thoughts still, like one of them, and I'm going to circle back to this one, but just about a founder's responsibility to your community to keep them fed and entertained and keep them with just things to do, just keep them engaged. Right. And I'm going to come back to that, but I want to say, like, make no mistake with this game still, regardless of how you feel about it. Kongs are always Kongs, as in everybody is a Kong. You've always said that, you've always preached it, and you've always done that in action, as in, man, if you don't own a Kong, you're still welcome in the Kongs Discord. And literally Henry's always giving out cyber Kongs to people, giving them out. He gives away the Wall Street Kongs passes at IRL events that are holder events. He invites people into those events too that are not holders. I've only gone to one event. It was VCon 23, and you had a fancy ass dinner at some awesome steakhouse. Where do you remember where that was?
Was that Ruth Chris? I think that was Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Invited people who are not Kongs holders to come there. Team pays, right? All that stuff. The Kongs are very, very PvE in that way. When it comes down to it, the human side of it, the Kongs are always PvE, and that's all I've ever seen from them. Again, now on chain and what's happening here, again, the game. It's a game that's being played, and it's an experiment, and it is art. But yeah, I don't want people to confuse any of this and think Kongs aren't PvE. They are, probably more than most I've seen or any.
When we initially launched, one of the first things we ever did was, it was a few months later, is we donated $1.5 million to Virunga National Park that they use to create their Bitcoin mining servers that they use to fund their park, as they've been in a civil war for years. We're a very giving ecosystem. That's been our foundation since the beginning. Whether it's Genesis Kongs, Baby Kongs, Wall Street Kongs passes, IRL events, like Kongs have. I talked about the Kong token, right? Before we've airdropped any of the Kong token to our own community, when we rebranded Banana to Kong, we gave to users of OpenSea first. Like, before we did anything for our own people. And like, there's some people who, when I say they're salty about that, they're kind of like, what the fuck? And, you gave to them before you gave to us. And I can understand that perspective too. But like, we've always sort of led with a community first approach, and we've put our money where our mouth is. We've always tried to give back and be, generous to the Web3 space.
Bitcoin too, and I don't want to get into that too much unless you do, but even on Bitcoin, there's a whole lot of giving of things out there to other communities across Bitcoin, and just that is in your guys' nature.
No, let's talk about it. Like, we spent 13 or 14 Bitcoin on launching Prometheans. And we did that because we were under the SEC investigation. We were not allowed to make money. We were highly advised by our legal counsel to not make money. We were, when I say we were bored, we were like, man, we can't do it. We launched Genkai against legal counsel's advice, right? But when it came to doing something else, we were just like, as you're further into the investigation, we're just like, okay, well, like, it's not just boring. Like, what the hell can we do? And here came this opportunity to do something on ordinals and eventually etch rune number 2. That was all free. That was literally, everything was given away. Those 21,000 Prometheans that I think eventually ran to 0.09 Bitcoin, just given away. Still came with death threats at the end because, like, we ultimately kind of closed down what we were doing. It's part of experimenting, man. Like, you don't look at runes now. Anybody give a flying shit about runes right now? No. We were one of the first to kind of recognize, like, this isn't working. Like, no, like, this is not a meta that's going to stick. We still tried to do something. I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm not apologetic for it. Like that's who we are. But I think one of the things with Deathstr is you get these people who don't really know us, and then they form these opinions like, oh, they're rage quitting, or we're not as popular as these other projects, and so we're just like, let's nuke them all. When in the end, it's like, if you actually heard me on Spaces, if you actually met me, you'd understand, like, no, this is not about hate for everybody else. This is first and foremost about making an impact in the space. This is about showing up on your timeline and about doing something that should just make you question, like, how do I feel about this? Like, do I hate them? Do I love them? And from that perspective, the mission was accomplished from that perspective. From the perspective of how does the Deathstr work? There's still work to do, and we're working on that now. And I see you got digital oil up, so I think that's what we get into.
I mean, dude, want to pull back the illusion too about some of the comments that are out there on X and people who might not like it, and to speak at how on how like maybe disingenuous a lot of people are out there. It's a perfect example. So I only saw this tweet today just talking about a very poorly designed launch mechanic, talking about, some people bought in very early, 99% tax, blah, blah, blah. That is every strategy token, every single one. So he's then talking about Punkster and Vibester and every single one. This is how they launch. But this isn't the main point. The main point is digital oil on the timeline was so, offended and put off by what the Cyberkongs did that he decided to launch his own trading pair. He has his own LP, put about $80,000 in liquidity, and he's basically saying, guys, fuck what they're doing. Let's kill what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. What really happened here?
Well, it's kind of funny. He found the exhaust port, okay? And we're working on fixing that. He found the exhaust port. I mean, I'll give credit. Like, this was all a game. This is all an experiment. And the shit that he has talked about it, by the way, just so you fully understand, when you buy and sell Deathstr through the protocol, there's a 10% tax on the buy and the sell. That's what fuels the protocol. That's what fuels getting the ETH to be able to buy the NFT, right? So what he did is he set up an LP, but he set it up at a 9% fee. So it's not like this guy was like, hey, I'm going to hook you guys up and here's another pool. Smart of him. He set up a pool that's 1% less, but just understand that money is going to him. When you're trading in that pool, that money's not going into the protocol. So unless you're full clipping out of your position of Deathstr, what you're essentially doing is giving him the 9% fees, and you're doing nothing for the protocol. And
this man farmed people. He farmed people. This is just to show again how much fake shit is out there, how much bullshit. Again, together, what Cyberkongs are doing is wrong. It's bad. It's an attack on whatever. Here's the right way to do it, or something, or a way to get around that. And no, this was all going into his pockets.
Also, the next step to this is not only did he set up that LP at 9%, he then set up his bot to be able to snipe the Moonbirds, out of the protocol and be able to sell them. And by the way, I don't hate the guy for doing it, right? Like I can't take the position that I've taken and be like, fuck this guy. This is what this space is. In fact, there's a part of this. When I say there's a part of this I love, like I hate it, right? There's a part of this that I'm like, exactly, bro. Exactly. This is all a game. And even you, Digital Oil, who's out there to a certain degree shit talking it, have found a way to be able to turn it into a process that enriches yourself. And, I can't hate him for it. He found some flaws in how this was set up, and now we got to fix it. But yeah, the way people talk versus what they're doing on the back end are not always the same thing. But that is what this space is, and you just have to be prepared for that.
So some good things that came of it. One, you saw the Moonbirds held up really well. Strong community, right? They held their floor. They were actually up a little bit at the most. I think they were down 1%, 1.5%. So learned something there, right?
We did learn something. And I don't credit Moonbirds for like, oh, they're amazing. Okay. There was a flaw in how we had it set up. We didn't, there are certain things that, like, I guess just hadn't been thought through in how the experiment would work that were like, okay, we got to fix that. Right. So yeah, no, but still I got to give some credit to Moonbirds. Like, I'm not going to take my ball and go home. Like, Moonbirds put up a good defense. And, GG's for that. The next version of this will be a little bit different because we'll be limiting, how many times you can buy, how you can buy the NFT. It's unfortunately going to require token migration. It just, we have to migrate the token to a locked token. And the ERC20 token in Deathstr right now is not upgradable. So before we go to season 2, we're going to make sure that we have all this in line. We will message from the CyberKongz account. This is something that's going to happen, when I say quickly, we'll get this in order where you will be able to easily swap your tokens to the new one. That will be a fully locked pool, where we won't be losing fees out to his 9% liquidity pool. And there's some other mechanics that we're going to be introducing in, where the people who can buy the NFTs right now, it's a 5 million lockup to be able to buy it. But dude, by the way, anybody who's got a million ideas of how to avoid bots are just more efficient people, right? So if you have people that are making bots, whatever you try to put in there, a human can just program a bot to do it, right? Right now, Digital Oil can just have whatever, 5-10 bots loaded up with 5 million. And, he can only buy under the current system, you can only buy 3 NFTs per season. The new version of Deathstr is going to be a little bit different in how it selects who can buy. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be, I think, about the safest way to do it, where you just don't have the same person benefiting all the time. The threshold, the barrier 5 million is going to drop pretty substantially. And we're going to shorten the seasons. It's so funny. Originally, the barrage was going to be a week, and we shortened from a week to 3 days. I didn't ever think that 3 days would be too long. I really didn't. But in Web3, where everything moves fast, I should have known 3 days might be too long. We're going to be shortening it to 36 hours. So the voting period will be a little bit shorter. The season will be shorter. And guys, if you're in Deathstr and you're looking at it and you're just I'm not sure, just know this is an ever evolving experiment. That's what it is. And I kind of look forward to just seeing how we can continue to refine and tweak everything for it to be the most efficient version of this possible. Because you just never know when another project is out there that you decide we want to try it on, or at least put it out there for a vote. Let's see if people want to go after this one. So I think we get another bite at the apple with Doodles, who are in the lead right now. And I kind of expect that they would probably win out. And then it'll be cool to see what the next projects are that are going to be voted on. And we just ride this experiment together, if that's something that you want to do.
I love it. One of the other things I love is it was a good teaching opportunity for the Kongs community. It's I look, strategy tokens have been out for 6 months, 8 months, ballpark, something like that.
Yeah, I think September is when Punkster dropped. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people never traded a strategy token. And I think you learn the best when you get some skin in the game. And I think you got a few hundred people now who, for the first time, were watching a strategy token live and trying to feel out when's the best opportunity to do it. And I was watching that. I know how to do them well now because I've followed and bought some of the strategy tokens. I follow virtuals, and I've followed and understood how the 99% tax works and where you can optimize where you get in. A lot of people were like, well, let me wait till it's 50% tax. Just arbitrary number. They just figured that's better than 99% or 90%. And some are like, well, I think it makes sense to wait till it's down to 10%. A lot of people learned how the game works and learned that you can do very well, depending on the market cap, when these things are at 99% or 90% or 80. It's a great learning opportunity for people in this space. There's going to be so many more strategy tokens that come out because they work. They're interesting. Again, the strategy tokens on TokenWorks, they're as interesting as this. It's a different flavor of it, but they work. Fair launches, interesting mechanics, right? You're going to see so many more of these when the market heats back up. Now you got your community ready for them, ready to win on that. And I think that's a big, big win for the CyberKongs too.
Yeah, dude, exactly that. Spaces I was on yesterday afternoon, which was Doginal Dogs, are talking about, and it was actually interesting. They were asking me about this thought they had for their strategy token, and they were talking about Deathstr, and they were you know, it was just a completely kind of different take on a strategy token, where they almost wanted to create a strategy token for a specific trait within a collection, and then have a DAO that votes on whether they want to sell it or whether they want to hold it. And like, I don't want to go into the entire thing, but I was just thinking, like, it's cool that people are thinking outside of just typical strategy token, launch it, and you're just, I don't want to say you're in a boring flywheel. I think what Adam did with Punkster is kind of genius. I think it was a great idea, but like, what's Web3 if you're not taking it and tinkering with it? So it'll be like really interesting to see how people do more stuff with it. And I don't think, somebody put a post out yesterday about Punkster compared to Deathstr and sort of how they both started out, market caps, etc. And the cool thing about this is, like, it's evolving, and it always has a shot at doing something. Like, it always just has a shot at doing something. Because it's a little bit different than your typical, like, if you want to call it supportive strategy tokens. You know, there's an arbitrage, you know, opportunity for people to buy. There could be opportunities for people to maybe vote on what projects they want to see in the projects that are selected for a vote. So like, dude, we just see, and this is not like, okay, this is the thing that cyberkongs do, and then we're off into the sunset and we do nothing else. We still will have, and we'll be, you know, messaging soon about our first seasonal distribution of Kong to the community. It's just kind of fun to get back into a lane where you're doing something outside of the box versus what I felt like we were doing for a while, which was trying to be something that everybody wanted us to be, or everybody thought you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be an IP play. You're supposed to be selling hoodies, and you're supposed to be, you know, making plushies and toys, and then you work on your animated, you know, you work on your animated what do you call it, series for Netflix, and like, that's for somebody else to do. Can you imagine us doing that? Like, that's not, it's just, it is not us. We are, and we will always be at our core a community that thrives on figuring shit out and being early. You do not have to wait for cyberkongs to do the next thing to benefit from being a cyberkong. That's how it has to be for us. You can't just wait for what's the next thing that we invent. You get yourself a cyberkong's evolution, which is the minimum threshold to get into Wall Street Kongs, or you get yourself a Gen Kong. You do whatever you want if you want to be in a place that's in touch with the market, that's early to, if it's the trenches and a shitcoin that gets called early. I mean, we saw millionaires off the back of Trump when he launched his token, and Vine, and you know, so many other tokens in the trenches where people are just early, or if it's ordinals. I mean, so many Kongs were in ordinals early. We have a founder, Ross from Ordinookies, who has an amazing community on ordinals. They run spaces daily. He's a Kong. You know, he's in Kongs all the time. One of our best alpha callers in there, founder of another project who shares alpha all the time in CK. And so in the end, we are a place you go to when you need a home that's going to provide you with the network of people that are literally all over the space 24/7. And the next thing that happens in Web3 that's going to be a splash, you're going to hear about it in Kongs early. Ugh.
Bad fucking ass.
Well, it's different. It's different. Like, if you can't build the next IP, which we're not going to be that place, maybe one day if that's ever in our cards, but if that's not your goal, then you got to have a place people can go to and get wins. And I feel like in Web3, there's a lot of us that's what we're here for. We're here for the next win. We're here for the next thing. We love the community. We love the art. We love whatever part of it. But in the end, it's like you're looking for your edge. And I think CK is one of the absolute best communities out there for having an edge.
Man, it's great having the Kongs feel like Kongs again. You know what I mean? It is your first thing you've put out since the SEC stuff, and it feels very Kongish. Very, very fucking on brand. It's good to have you guys back. Really is.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we just look at tokens real quick? Just a quick peek. We'll do a quick mention of NFTs, because NFTs are kind of exciting right now too. They are. There's just a lot of great projects. There's stuff popping up on Mega ETH. Market not great right now. We lost 70 a couple days ago, yesterday, whatever. We're at 66.5 for Bitcoin here. ETH at 19.5.
Oh my.
Yeah, dude. I hate with ETH losing 2K as well, but yeah, we're it's rough.
Real quick. Just not to cut you off, but this is that guy from Ordinookies. Ross is dude, great to see you, dude. Sorry, just I know he's busy, so he doesn't get to hop in a lot, but an absolute legend in CK and in Ordinookies.
Badass.
Check them out on Ordinal. It's a great community.
What's his? Do you know his handle on X?
Control Ross, like CTRLROSS. I am pretty sure.
There we go.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. Give him a follow. Hey, me too. Even
he's an artist. I've met him IRL. Just one of those people where you're like, man, and dude, when I think, sorry, because I know we were talking market, but when I think of people who just haven't had the bite at the apple that they deserve, I think of people like Ross. I'm like, man, Ross has just been building and contributing for years here, years. And dude, he hates, and he calls it out, and I love it. He hates the ruggers. I said this morning in WSK when he was talking about a new project being launched, and he can literally list off, if somebody's launching something, he could probably tell you every single project they launched and how they rugged it. He's an absolute database for the people in this space. What is it, IMDb? Like the thing where I'm like, you got an IMDb on every single fucking person in the space in your head. So yeah, shout out to Ross. Follow that guy. Really, really good person.
That's badass, man. Good shit. Okay, then not on market too long here. Just want to say we had some jobs data today. It came in actually much better than expected. I won't go into numbers because we also got a jobs revision. It was down something like 800,000 jobs revised less for 2025. It was expected to be bad, but that happened. Separately, dude, I thought this was a really interesting post from Benjamin Cowan. The price of Bitcoin color-coded by social interest shows that Bitcoin topped on apathy rather than euphoria, similar to mid-2019, which also corresponded to the end of quantitative tightening. Okay, if we need some hopium here, well, there's some hopium. We'll see. Again, I know a lot of people at this point are locked into, okay, the 4-year cycle is playing out again. I'm forever to live in. It might be different, and I'm always watching for it's different. I don't know. Feeling to be different at some point here. I'll just say that. There was a really viral AI article today. I was going to spend time chatting. We'll save it maybe for next week if it's still a story, but a lot of talk about AI doing the job replacement thing. We're getting closer to it. All I'll say is we're getting much, much, much closer to that than maybe
before. We chatted about this a little bit before the show, and it's scary, dude. It is scary. AI is not perfect. I tried to help my daughter with some homework the other day using ChatGPT Premium, and it wasn't very great for the thing I was asking it to do. But I just cannot imagine in 5 years what this all looks like. I don't mean in 6 months, but in 5 years, I don't know how we're all in the food line, or the bread line, I should say. Because we can't make money because AI is doing everything better.
It's scary, and it's coming. And I shared a thought yesterday with it. I'm like, that's where we go long term. I'm like, short term though, I think it's different, and it's actually very exciting. Where short term, I think gets us back to real 9 to 5. 9 to 5 jobs don't really exist anymore. Nobody's working 40 hours. Everybody's working you know what I mean? Everybody's working nights and weekends, and you don't get free time like you did 20 years ago. And my thought is we're at the point where I think that's going to change a little, where you have a 9 to 5 and your weekends are more free than ever. So it's what I'm hoping for. At least that's the,
you're right on a lot of things. And I hope you're right on that. I do.
Right.
Why is it that in my mind, the scenario that I see is we suffer as the middle class, we suffer, and the massive corporations who are just putting an absolute metric shit ton of money into R&D are the ones who ultimately benefit, and they get to add a few more zeros to their ledger.
Yeah, no, I think that's how it plays out. I think that's the longer run. Shorter term is your work gets a little easier because you have so much more help and so much is automated. Longer term, I think we might be fucked, and I'm not convinced yet. I go back and forth, but longer term, no, I don't see how it's not that. Right, 10 years off, maybe it's fast. I think the time frames are very tricky. I'll use this as a quick little window to plug. We are on the Crypto Slam side cooking in the AI agent arena, and this was announced last week. We're working very closely with Animoca now with our AI mines. Animoca's now launched using our EthosSwarm tech. Right, they're launching their own branded mines, still again using our underlying platform. But Animoca mines, they're out at Consensus Hong Kong right now. Yatsu's doing a whole speech about agentic Web 3. He's talking minds. It's like, keep your eyes on this. I just say, guys, keep your eyes on what's going on Ethos Swarm. If you want your own personal agent, if you like the Clawbot stuff that's going on, check it out. Go to a mind.ai, launch one for yourself. There's no installs, there's no accounts, there's nothing like that. It's you talk to this agent and you own it over email. You just send an email to it. It's free to try. You should try it, and you're going to hear a lot more about this soon.
It's great, by the way. It's great. I mean, I've used it. You told me beforehand, like it's a different way to interact with an agent, and it's been a really like interesting and cool experience with it. And you know how you had kind of said like you couldn't quite put your finger on what makes it different, than just chatting with ChatGPT. You probably can now because you've used it so much, but I think it is the idea that like you're interacting with it, but you can kind of leave it and come back to it. And it's this ongoing conversation versus like I'm typically using GPT on my app, on my phone, and it always feels like I just got to be glued to the thing.
Right. That's it. That's where the magic is, that it's more passive and that you come back to it. It's made progress and it's giving you, like, it's prompting you. I always tell people, Tickle, I got to get you one. You got to try it because he works so deeply with AI. I'd love to hear his thoughts on it.
I know.
So I'll have to do that too. Well, shit. Maybe we skip the Mega ETH stuff. Other than I'll just say you probably guys should be paying attention to the Mega ETH NFTs that are starting to come out. There was a launch yesterday, the World Computer Netizens or whatever. I mean, those look good. There was the launch today. I'm so bad with the names. Meganachi. Be looking in the Mega ETH ecosystem. I feel like if one of those pops, we might get a little hot little moment there for NFTs on Mega ETH. So be watching that.
Question: what is the vibe? NFTs aside, what's the vibe on Mega ETH? Like I have seen FUD about it on my timeline, but like, is everybody okay?
I think NFTs for me feel like they're in a good spot, but like Mega ETH specifically here.
Mega ETH specifically. Like now that people were supposed to be like getting their tokens at this time, or at least they thought they were going to.
Yeah. I know things kind of changed. I like how they changed them. They wanted to hit those KPIs before they do TGE. They're almost there. Like that TGE is happening probably in the next like week or two or something like that.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
It's just FUD for FUD's sake, I think, or engagement farming, I think. So we'll see. Why don't we hit some bullish bearish?
Yeah, can I hit the thing? Can I do the thing?
Yeah. I love the thing.
Okay, let me find the thing. Let's
Jay-Z, speaking of the Super Bowl, Jay-Z's the most wanted artist for Super Bowl halftime show 2027. I heard that he produces the halftime shows. I don't know if that's true.
Pretty sure Rock Nation does. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, he was there like on the field when Bad Bunny was coming out. Honestly, I'd love to see Jay-Z out there.
I love his music. I think he's all over the Epstein file stuff, or maybe not the Epstein file stuff. There's a whole separate thing with him, right?
Yeah. Okay. That aside, if it was just from an artistic standpoint, I think it'd be cool to see him. Yeah. But yeah, all the other stuff, like I'm not deep enough in it to have a great opinion.
Bullish. Caroline Levitt, I think is her name, right?
Yep.
Little question to her about the Epstein files and saying we're moving on from that. And Sarah Matthews, former politician, saying, no, the fuck we're not. I cannot, like, I see great posts out there saying if we don't have a revolution over this, then we're fucked. And we're not going to. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen.
It's disheartening. Bearish on the administration and how they're handling it. Bullish on the comment. I'm with you, dude. It's just like it's so disturbing on so many levels. It's outrageous. I don't even have enough adjectives to describe how I feel about it, but I hate it. You know what it is? Helpless. I think that's the best word I can describe. Like you see something that's probably awful and you're just like, there's nothing I can do about it.
I hope we see the first something about it in the midterms. I don't know if we will, but that's the first chance we'll get to see it. And if not, maybe, to tie it to AI, that's why we should be worried, because it's very similar people involved in, kind of directing where AI is going. I know it's not the devs, right? But it's the tech industry and it's the politicians who are passing the legislation around this stuff and all that. Not good. But yeah, bearish as fuck on all of that. An 11-year-old discovers a 48 million-year-old fossil while searching for rocks with his grandparents. That's so cool.
I love it, dude. I always like, as a kid, and you hear about these stories that back then in the newspaper, and or you saw it on the news or something, and you're just like, man, I want that to be me. So you're at the beach and you're digging, and I can't even imagine how cool that would be. I'm bullish on it. I think it's awesome.
Used to, when we grew up, I lived in the woods, and I was always looking for fossils and arrowheads and shit. Never found anything, but
Do you remember when we were kids and I would be afraid for you and Tickles to go into the backyard way back deep into the woods, and because I thought Bigfoot was back there, and I actually paid you guys at least once to not go back there. It's crazy. You guys were rugging me back then, man. Come on.
Incredible. Incredible. All right. By the way, that was bullish as hell. In Turkey, a man drove a forklift into a jewelry store, stole 150 grams of gold, and got away on a donkey. Get the fuck out.
I'm pretty positive this was not AI, but it could be. Sometimes I just don't know when I'm looking, but when you see the guy riding the donkey, it's I don't know. Maybe it's AI, but in the comments, it didn't seem to be real. It's funny. I'd be bullish if it's true.
Bullish. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. People noticed Erica Kirk has removed the wedding photo of Charlie Kirk on his bookshelf.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Crazy. I mean, wildly inappropriate in my mind, but like, I don't know. That's something weird about that whole thing, man. Something weird about all that.
Yeah, I try to I just see how often people latch onto a narrative and they go down that path and it's the wrong path. And it could be that photo's hard for her to look at. You know what I mean? It could be she brought it home and did it somewhere more personal than in his office. There's so many other reasons it could be. And the fact that we have no fucking clue that we instantly go, she's a monster. Imagine her going through the grieving. She probably is, right? And then everybody just leans into she's a fucking monster. It's a weird thing we do.
You're absolutely right, actually, and maybe I should retract my statement on that. I think it's putting all of the other stuff that I saw her do in the process, the grand stages and fireworks and that kind of stuff. But again, even then, I'd be like, well, everybody can grieve, and it's a weird way to grieve, but everybody can grieve differently. But I don't know. There's just something about all of it that's just weird to me.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Christians are different. Like they're just a different breed, and they're on like the holy mission, and Charlie's in a better place. The way they're grieving is a very different thing, and she feels she's continuing the mission for him, and he's with Jesus, and so it doesn't hurt. It hurts, but it's different, right?
Because he's in a better place. Yeah,
right.
Dude, great point.
So people got to understand that she's happy. A lot of times Christians are happy. Like he's there. Oh my God, I'm so happy he's there. Right.
Fair.
It's not how a lot of people think, but
yeah. But no, that's a great point. And I'm glad you said it. See, I learn a lot on this show.
A little girl, I've seen this, that dresses up as a flower to meet a hummingbird. Oh, that's awesome.
It's just cute, man. Like, if you don't like this, you're a terrible person. This kid, I was bullish on it. I just thought it was kind of a cute, feel good moment.
Super bullish. Also feel good.
You know this one.
Sniper.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Yeah.
Broke the record for longest confirmed sniper kill at 3,800 meters. Bullet took 9 seconds to reach its target. Look at that sniper rifle.
As a prior hunter, for me, now I hunted deer, so I would use a shotgun, a 12 gauge, but then if I had a rifle, it was a 257 Roberts, which is kind of an old school rifle. For me to shoot a deer at, just call it 150, I'm trying to think of the conversion, because I was going to say like 250, 300 yards would be a good poke. Like that'd be a good poke. I can't even you're taking into account so much. The odds of that hitting, it's insanity. I mean, look at that thing, dude.
9 seconds for that to land it hit its target is crazy to even picture.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable, but GG's, man.
Yeah, bullish on the skill.
Yeah, bullish on the skill.
Yeah. Also bullish on this skill, J.H. Clabo has completed a sub 6 minute mile pace uphill on skis. That is absolutely fucking wild. Uphill on skis.
look at this guy. I mean, that's a whole other level of athleticism. My fat ass sitting here on a Wednesday, hosting a show with you, can't even comprehend, what this guy's doing. It's. You watched any figure skating?
No, I want to. I really want to get in it, like watch some of the Olympics.
Good the stuff. Quad God for the men. He won the short program yesterday. It's insane. I mean, my kids are figure skaters, and it's wild. It's just wild what these people can do.
Athletes getting better and better. It's crazy. So bullish. Bad Bunny's halftime show averaged 128.2 million viewers. Broke all the NFL social media records. Interesting. I liked it.
Yeah.
Performance.
Okay, a little bit of a 30-second, 45-second thought on it. I had one of my installers came in yesterday, and he was kind of going on a rant about how un-American it was, and I said, "Nah, dude, I don't see it that way." I said, "Actually, I don't know what the big deal is," and I used the analogy that I've been using, which is like, dude, if you didn't know Kendrick Lamar's lyrics and you heard him talking or rapping and you didn't know any of that, like, do you really give a shit whether you don't understand English or whether you don't understand Spanish? Like, who cares? It was a entertaining halftime show. He's got a good beat. I liked it. And he said to me, well, I can't believe that you as a veteran would be okay with it. He came out with all of the other flags, and I said, well, he did, but he led with an American flag. And he's like, he did? I heard he just came out with a bunch of flags. I said, you haven't seen it? So I showed him the video where he comes out with the American flag, and behind it's the Puerto Rican flag, and then a bunch of other flags. I said, yeah, dude, he's got an American flag. It leads the parade of flags. And he's like, oh, that's totally different then. And I just said, dude, I just want you to know, in all of these complicated situations, like, you owe it to yourself to fact check it. You could just go on YouTube and find this for yourself instead of just hearing it from somebody else and repeating it. So I think the whole thing is just way overblown and stupid.
So it's actually like a great American story. Right? It just is. Yeah. Bullish on it. It was entertaining. Bullish on that shit. This one's wild, and we're getting to the end here, but new forensic analysis claims Kurt Cobain's 1994 death was homicide, not suicide. And this has come up so many times for decades now. This one sounds like it's really going to open up that case and really, like, maybe change that story pretty officially. So
I think they thought that he was injected with heroin. I mean, he was a heroin user, but that he was like OD'd on heroin and then he was shot. And I remember probably over 10 years ago watching a documentary on it, and they were saying, like, for him to be able to pull the trigger on this rifle where the gunshot, entered and exited is, I don't want to say it's impossible, but really, really hard. So, interesting.
Yeah, it would be wild to see what the real story is there. But yeah, well, I guess to be continued there. And then we can play the Bad Bunny backup music thing to see us out here.
Yeah, this one's hilarious.
And guy, make no mistake, this thing is fake. But it's funny as shit because a lot of people are trying to pile on Bad Bunny and say he's got no talent and all that, which ain't true. But it's funny as shit. So we'll end there. This is Bad Bunny. With the music track or whatever going out. So he, and no auto-tune, and this is what he supposedly sounds like.
Es que no lo le da porque no lo mate. Hola que se, hola que se, hola. Hola que se, hola que se, hola.
Fucking phenomenal.
It's so good.
Bullish on Bad Bunny. I actually like him. Like, I didn't know his music before. Now I like it a lot. So good shit. Man, I fucked our layup up. But it's all good. We're out. Dude, Atari, I knew you'd love that. I feel like you've seen it before.
That's right up Atari's alley.
He's a maniac. I love that guy.
He is.
I think that'll do it. For the show here today. One last reminder, go to the CyberKongs account over on X and make sure you're following there. Of course, Chart Monkeys on X. And should we do it? Well, we'll do it one more time when we're on the real way out. And then twitch.tv/chartmonkeys to be continued next week with two, by that point, at least two more Deathstr targets, right? Doodles coming up. And
yeah. We'll message here soon, like how the how the changes are going to be made. But yeah, we should have two more. We should have two more targets by then.
Incredible things. Keep up the good work, man. I think it's fucking great. And
Thanks,
good shit, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you back here next week. Now enjoy this beauty.
Es que no lo le da porque no lo mate. Hola,
We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.